Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I would like to open our general meeting, if everybody's here. It is 10 o'clock a.m. So based on Article 11 of the bylaws, as chairman of the board, I will serve as a chair to this general shareholders meeting, both for the ordinary and extraordinary part. I declare the meeting open, and if you agree, I would like to invite Notary Public Carlo Marchetti to serve as secretary for both the ordinary and the extraordinary session, if you agree. And I would like to invite Dr. Marchetti to provide the necessary information to declare this general meeting duly convened for the ordinary part.
We will use a televoting system, and whenever you have technical problems through televoter, we will vote by show of hands. And we will provide you the information to use the radio voting devices. You will see a slide explaining how it works. Therefore, you will be asked to express your vote by using the radio voter devices that you have been equipped with during registration. The people entitled to vote will have to press just one button. You will see F in favor, C against, A non-voting, and then you press the OK button. Unless you press the OK button, you can change your vote, and then the vote will be shown on the display till the end of the voting procedure. Voting has to be cast in 1 minute time. After 1 minute, voting will be declared ended. Those who represent more shareholders and who want to express a different vote within their proxies, they have to go to the assisting voting booth. And at the end of the debate on the items of the agenda, we will proceed with the voting procedure. The vote expressed without the systems that we have illustrated won't be considered. Notice of call of the general meeting was published on in the Sole 24 Ore Financial Time, and the platform have been published in March. The agenda is the following: financial statements of Italgas, allocation of the profits for the year, policy on compensation, and then a co-investment plan, appointment of director. As I said, point number 2 is the allocation of the profits for the year and distribution of the dividend. Third, policy on compensation pursuant to Article 123 ter. Then co-investment plan, and the 5th point item on the agenda is the appointment of a director, necessary and consequent resolution. Extraordinary session, proposal for free share capital increase to be reserved for employees of Italgas and all companies in the group in the nominal amount of 4,960,000 euros through allocation pursuant to Article 2349 of the Italian Civil Code. And then we will have the amendment to Article 5 of the company bylaws. Number 2, in addition to the chairman, we have the CEO Paolo Gallo, Nicola Bedin, Cinzia Farise, Yung Peng Ye, Federica Lolli, Paolo Mosa, and Paola Anna Maria Petrone. Maurizio Daunelli and Cinzia Farise are not attending. In addition, we have the chairman of the auditors and the statutory auditors, Gianni Cogento and Lauta Zavet. The capital of 1,1,231,000 namely 809,135,502 ordinary shares. We have 557,000 million shares, that is 73.68% of the voting capital. Based on Article 13 of Law Decree 196, personal data, that is name, first name, last name, and date of birth, will be asked according to the ends provided for in the law in force. And this personal data will be included in the minutes of the general meeting and will be distributed also within the European Union and outside the European Union based on the laws in force. The names of people invited and entitled to take part in the General Assembly and in voting illustrates the names of all the attendees with the indication also of the number of shares they have. Before the voting, we will communicate the names of people attending and voting on their own behalf or by proxies. Financial analysts and journalists will follow the works of the general meeting. Based on Article 5.2, Alessio Mutoli will serve as secretary of the board. And we will have an audio and video recording to streamline the minute-taking works. Based on Article 4 of the General Meeting rules, it is not possible to use recording devices and also photo cameras and similar devices. Simultaneous translation from Italian into English will be provided. I would also remind you that based on Article 7, intervention requirements can be submitted to the chair office from the beginning of the general meeting. As per the general meeting rules, each intervention can last 5 minutes only, and then there will be a debate on all the items on the agenda, both for the ordinary and the extraordinary general meeting. Voting will be cast for the different items, so all the people entitled to vote can express their opinions and remarks within these 5 minutes, so that everyone will have the chance to talk. No follow-up is allowed after the end of the debate. Only voting declarations are allowed. I would also like to provide you additional information. In case of amendments required to proposals different than those submitted by the board, the additional proposals will be considered after the general debate. And then, as far as additional proposals on the items of the agenda, they will be voted afterwards. And then the proposals submitted by the attendees will be voted first by those who have the highest share of equity. I would like also to inform the attendees that we have complied with all the rules concerning the regulated markets. So I declare the general meeting duly convened, and we will start with the items on the agenda for the ordinary meeting. No integration request for the item of the agenda was received by the company based on Article 126 bis. And we have verified, based on the circumstances known to the company, that the attendees are entitled to vote. I would like to invite the attendees to communicate a possible situation of lack of legitimacy to vote, or the existence of agreements, inter-company agreements. If none of the attendees submitted anything concerning these two issues, I would like to invite Dr. Marchetti to provide further information concerning the working of the Assembly. Based on the company's book of April 17, 2018, shareholders who have directly or indirectly shares accounting for over 3% of the total of the issued shares are Cassa Depositi e Prestiti 26.05%, SNAM 13.50%, Lazar Asset Management LLC 7.57%, Romano Minozzi through a number of subsidiaries for a total of 4.99%. The company knows about the agreement concluded on October 20, 2016 between CDP and SNAM in favor of Italgas, and also the listing of Italgas shares. The agreement that has been implemented on November 7, 2016 rules the exercise of voting rights, the setting up of an advisory committee, and also the way additional list of members to be appointed in the board has been submitted. For the questions submitted during the general meeting, we will provide answers after the debate on the items on the agenda. At the end of the answer session, we will submit the proposals for the different items on the agenda. And we received some questions based on Article 127, and these questions have been submitted to the attendees at the beginning of the general meeting and will be attached to the minutes. Georgeson SRL through Agnese Ottaviani has been appointed as representative, that is a representative with the proxies for the voting procedures. I declare the meeting open, and before analyzing the items on the agenda, I would like to inform you that the report of the board have been submitted to the headquarters of a registered office of the company, and through the mechanism e-market storage at www.emarketstorage.com, and they have been sent to those who made a request. At the entrance, you have been given the press release, the financial statement 2017, the report on remuneration, the report on corporate governance, and the non-financial report 2017. Concerning the items on the agenda, I would like to invite you to debate point number 1 and number 2 together, and then we will take a separate voting. And we will intervene on both parts, the ordinary and the extraordinary part of the general meeting. So, I would like to start with item number 1 and 2 of the general meeting. The point number 1 is financial statement of Italgas at December 31st, 2017, consolidated financial statement, reports by the director, the board of auditors, statutory auditors, and the independent auditing firm. Non-financial statement, point to allocation of the profits for the year and distribution of the dividend. I would like to invite Dr. Macchetti to provide information concerning the requirements met for the documents submitted. The file concerning the financial statement, the consolidated statement, the report by the board, the statutory auditors, and the non-financial statement, as well as the proposal by the board concerning the approval of the financial statement, were submitted to the registered office of the company and to the market storage platform. The financial statement has been submitted to the attendees and sent to those who required it. Based on CONSOB regulation of April 18, we would like to inform you that the auditing company PwC worked 398 hours, amounting to 27,500 euros to review the financial statement, and 249 hours, that is 22,500 euros, to review the consolidated financial statement. I think that I'm supposed to read the letter to the shareholders, and since the letter has been sent to all of you, I would skip the reading because I think that the presentation of the CEO is much more interesting. He will illustrate the project that we have launched. So, if you agree, I would like to give the floor to our CEO. The microphone, please.
Sì, eccolo. Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending this general meeting. In my presentation, I will focus primarily on what the company has done in 2017. That is the first full year since the spinning off of the company from Snam. And then I will talk about the economic results that you have seen already, both in the disclosure to the market when the financial statement was approved, and in the documents we submitted to our investors. I'd rather focus on what we have done throughout 2017, since it was a very significant year for your company. As you will see, we carried out a number of projects and activities. The results we reached have been very significant, as shown by the performance of our share. There was a video, sorry. So we start with the video. So we reached a number of goals, and starting from these goals, we can improve on an ongoing basis. Italgas is #1 for natural gas distribution in Italy. number one in terms of network and number one in terms of distribution. We provide energy and skills across our country, and we develop the grid. We consolidate our presence, and we reach areas in Italy where there are no infrastructures for the distribution of natural gas. We invest in the grid digitalization, and we want to offer an increasingly cutting-edge service, which is unparalleled on a European level. We want to be more effective. We want to face technological and market challenges in the best way possible. This is where we have a new corporate structure and a new organization in Italy. We have new skills and know-how. We invest in energy efficiency, and we want to focus on sustainable development. We create value, we support culture and educational projects. We work extensively on the attainment of very ambitious results. We are on our way, and we'll continue moving forward. We have plenty of energy.
Come dicevo,
as I said, all the activities performed have led to great results in 2017 and the share performance, but unfortunately I cannot move forward with the presentation. Could you please help me? Because I have to go through the slides. So, well, the picture is too great. They don't want me to show the presentation. Could you please help me? It's too heavy, maybe. Just 1 second. Is it so complicated? It's a PowerPoint.
ok, finalmente ce l'abbiamo fatta.
Great, so we've managed to move forward. So this chart summarizes the result of the activities that the whole staff, my colleagues and myself have performed throughout the year. As you can see, starting from January 2017, the share started to grow. We will see later on the reasons for that, and still continues to grow. If you consider the comparison between Italgas and FTSE or similar shares, you see how impressive the growth has been. So this is the total share value, which also includes the distribution of dividends. Yesterday, the share price closed at €5.19 per share. What I'd like to tell you about very briefly is a short overview of 2017 and the development of the company throughout the past 12 months. Your company, but we have a problem with the presentation, so we have to fix that. So your company, in a nutshell, your company manages 67,000 kilometers of network. It has about 1,700 licenses, the 7.5 million delivery points, which are the meters at the final customers. it increased, has exceeded 34% market share. And so this applies to the scope of consolidation and to the new companies that have been recently acquired, and the acquisition of them was closed in the early 2018. The first area I'd like to focus on is about the level of investments that the company performed during 2017. And this is a significant number. In 2016, we invested 378 million euros. In 2017, instead, we exceeded the 500 million euro threshold, and we managed to do so in a matter of a few months, so from 16 to 17. But most of all, we managed to significantly increase the installations of new meters. In 2017, we installed almost 1.7 million meters with an average, or better still, with a peak of 12,000 meters per day. And we did so with an increase of about 200% versus last year. And this means, as I usually say, that we set up a real factory to install these meters. Otherwise, we wouldn't have managed to do so. And this, as we will see later, will be the target for the years ahead. This year, we're going to reach the same number. In 2019, we're going to install the same number of meters, and we will conclude the installation of smart meters in early 2020, thus reaching a coverage which is much higher than what is required by the authority, which is called ARERA. So we're going to exceed not only our target for 2018, but we're going to complete the installation of smart meters in the first months of 2020. And this is a very important piece of information. I will focus on that later on when talking about digitalization. If we do not complete the installation of smart meters, digitalization will fail or will be postponed. That's clear. We will cover 87%. Just to give you an idea, this 13% is the number of meters which are inactive or not accessible. This is our estimate as of today, but by 2020 we will have certainly performed much better, and this 13% will be much lower.
Sempre l'altra area su cui...
Another area of investment, as shown in the previous chart, is the network. But as far as the network is concerned, I'd like to focus your attention on that. So after many years of lagging behind a little bit in terms of bringing methane gas to southern Italy, well, in 2017 we really made a huge effort, and we managed to complete it. 3 municipalities will be then covered in early 2018, but throughout 2017 we managed to connect 35 municipalities in regions where gas distribution had not existed, so Calabria and Sicily, and we did so where the SNAM connection was not present. So we used big reservoirs which are usually installed at the beginning of the network in order to supply the distribution network. And we're very proud of that, because we had huge problems in these networks with suppliers, with delays. So in 12 months we also managed to fix that problem, thus distributing gas to areas that could not receive gas. And this is thanks to the operations that made, as I said, a huge effort in order to complete this activity. And then we had acquisitions. If you remember, or if you have followed our developments throughout 2017, when we submitted the strategic plan till 2023, we were actually realizing that tenders are not moving forward at the expected pace. So we decided to anticipate the consolidation activity that the gas distribution market needs. It needs such a consolidation because this will bring benefits not only to the company but also to the distribution system and to final customers. So we set a target for 2017 and 2018. We said acquisitions for 200,000 meters, so small operators, for a total amount of 200,000 meters, and 200 million euros was the estimated amount. We can confirm this target again, and I must say that 2017, that is the first year when we made the first acquisitions, allowed us to reap the expected results. We are almost halfway. In 2018, we will move forward along the path of acquisitions, and this is what we managed to acquire and to add to the perimeter of Italgas. Some of these transactions have already been closed in early 2018. These acquisitions will require additional investments for over 200 million euros in the years ahead. All these acquisitions have been performed by putting the utmost attention on the price paid. In some occasions, we had to pay a premium to get the network, but our main target was that of creating value for the company and for their shareholders. Particular focus on Sardinia. Just a few days ago, I met the president of the region to illustrate the projects of Italgas for the island. Italgas was not present there until 2017. Well, we were there many, many years ago, but now we have acquired an important position. We have about 1/3 of the whole territory in terms of concessions. We acquired both running concessions, for example, in Sassari, and concessions that are being now built, and concessions that are still to be built. As of today, we have 15,000 customers, or better still, 15,000 meters, 400 kilometers of network. Tomorrow, and by tomorrow I mean in a few years, so in the short run, we may be able to achieve 180,000 new customers and 1,500 kilometers of network for a total investment amount that will exceed 200 million euros. We still do not have the exact amount because we have just acquired all the figures and all the documents from CPL, and we are reviewing them with a view to digitalization. But I will come back to this topic in a few minutes. Not only did we perform did we acquire new concessions, we also acquired a new company for energy efficiency, because as you know, your company must buy a significant number of energy efficiency shares, and so we decided to enter this new sector, which is actually very similar to the gas distribution market. It is highly fragmented. We went through a path that lasted almost a year in order to identify the best suited company for our needs. This is a company which is based in Bologna, very interesting, as you can see in the figures. So it's a small company. These are the numbers of 2017. The goal for that acquisition is not only to support our daily business, because as you know, in local tenders, energy efficiency is a topic that contributes to the final score. And so for us, having that know-how, which we do not have in the company, is a plus, and this also allows us to further develop alongside with our core business. In 2017 has also been characterized by a deep debt restructuring. I'm saying deep because we dealt with that topic last year, the last year's AGM, when we were spinned off from SNAM. We obtained a bridge to bond of 3.7 billion euros that had to be converted into shares, into bonds. So we had a variable interest structure, and this penalized us in the first months after the spin-off. So the expectation was that of increasing interest rates. Many financial analysts, however, did not believe in Italgas, in being able to refinance that money at the expected rates. But fortunately, analysts were definitely wrong, because during 2017 we issued bonds for 2.65 billion euros at a fixed rate, average cost 1.25%, 8-year maturity on average. But we also got a request, a demand, which was 3 times as high as the supply of investors from all over the world, also from Asia. And so we managed to reimburse in April 2017 the bridge loan that we received from banks. But more than that, at the end of the year, we started a funding of 360 million with a maturity of 20 years with the European Investment Bank that will be used for the new smart meters. And the result of that has dramatically changed the debt structure of the company. As of end of December, 71% of the debt had a fixed rate, was a fixed rate debt, and to support the agency rating with a total committed credit facility equal to 4.8 billion. But there's more than that. In January 2018, thanks to favorable conditions, we reopened a bond, the longer-term bond, with a further issue of 250 million euros. And as you can see, in less than a year, because we had the first issue in September, so after less than 6 months, the market acknowledged a further premium because the spread decreased from 72 to 58 basis points. And in January, we turned to fixed rate the financing from the European Investment Bank. And as a result, more than 80% of debt is a fixed rate debt with a duration, an average duration of about 8 years. And as you can see, this is the current debt structure of our company. This structure makes us extremely proud of the work we did, and we are also very confident vis-à-vis the future. Should interest rates further increase, our debt structure is, however, able to ensure a fixed rate for the years ahead. Let me now briefly outline the main operations and the main activities that we started, we closed, and some of them are still underway. This is a list of the activities that we have started, aiming at curbing costs, improving the level of service, and with the aim of improving and further modernizing our network. I'm not going through each one of them, but as you can see, the ones which are highlighted are those that have already been concluded before the end of 2017. There are some further operations that have to be started, but this actually testifies the efforts made by Italgas in 2017 and which have led to the results I will show you in a couple of minutes. Just let me focus on a couple of items. First of all, the reorganization of the operations. We have eliminated 2 hierarchy levels. The objective of that reorganization, well, we had multiple objectives. First of all, standardization, homogenization. That is to say, setting up and creating centers which are very similar to one another in terms of organization and in terms of size. We structure them so that they are ready for tenders and ready for acquisitions. And as for acquisitions, we can already see how well they're working. So we have structured them for the future, so our structure will be ready for the following tenders. And we wanted to bring the staff of operations even closer to the area, to the field, in order to further increase the level of service, and hence we have 14 such centers. And we wanted to centralize some functions, sharing best practices, the activities on larger investments. This is, again, something which has been centralized with a project management approach with clear responsibilities from the beginning to the end. And we managed to do so in a matter of 9 months. As of October, the organization was complete and was up and running. We also reorganized from a corporate level. So as you can see here, well, it seems to be more complicated than in the past, but in reality, Italgas Reti and Napoletana Gas have been consolidated. ACAM will be also made in a few months. So in Italgas Reti, we want to focus on gas distribution, and this is the reason why water has been separated and put into NewCo.
And we also have to strengthen, until concessions are being given, the Tecnusa, because the concession itself asks us to maintain vehicle companies, but then they will be included in the Italgas network. So also, as far as the corporate structure is concerned, we will continue to streamline the structure to be more efficient and to reduce costs, to respond faster to possible problems. What about digitalization of the grid? This is a major project launched by our company. It will continue for 2 to 3 years. And eventually, Italgas will be the only company in Italy and one of the very few in Europe to be a leader in terms of cutting-edge technology. Here you see what we are planning to do. On the one hand, if we haven't completed the installation of smart meters, we won't be able to talk about digitalization. This is why we speeded up our plan for the installation of smart meters. On the other hand, we want also to have sensors along the grid to collect data and to use data. So we are not only focusing on hardware, but also of a change in our mindset to better manage the grid. So we wanted to manage the grid differently as compared to now. Maintenance is carried out in case of problems on the grid, or if the plant is obsolete, or if we are required to change the asbesto network. And in the future, we will have a predictive maintenance system. What does it mean? We will be able to intervene whenever we find points of weakness. We will find out in advance possible leakages in the grid. It means also to optimize processes and the management of resources. It means a number of things that so far we cannot foresee. But undoubtedly, because of technological innovation and the reduction of costs, we will manage to make major leap forward in terms of the optimization of the distribution network. Sardinia, primarily, will be the first region with a digitalized grid because it is easier to plan this digitalization network now, and it is more complex to intervene on an existing grid. We have already launched 42 pilot projects where we are intervening for digitalization. So we are walking the talk. We are delivering on our promises. It is not only the grid. This is something else, that is the digitalization of processes. Another enabling element to digitalize processes and the grid is to get rid of the traditional mainstream infrastructure. We had a choice to make, either to create or to rely on the mainstream infrastructure or to find something new. We decided to adopt the cloud, which is economically very good because we have lower costs and we are more flexible and more efficient as compared to the mainstream grid. Flexibility. If tomorrow we win a bid tender, we have 500,000 new PDR. With the cloud, in just a few days, we ask Microsoft Azure to have better and more space. In a traditional mainstream grid, I have to buy the server, install the server, and what if I do not win the bid? I had invested money, but without using it. So flexibility and efficiency provided by the cloud is unparalleled. What we are doing now, well, in September 2018, all our applications will be in the cloud. So it is not something that will be implemented in the future. It is already going. And then we are tackling an issue that is very important for our company vis-à-vis our customers, vis-à-vis people who work with us on a daily basis. We received in a year 1 million calls. Even though we do not sell anything, we receive 1 million calls. And we had to face also this issue because attention to the final customer must be as high as possible. Here you see the development. In 2016, our customer service had plenty of numbers. Now we have one single number, and we have the most advanced application in the area. We have introduced the Salesforce. We will do it on immediate intervention calls, and through Salesforce we will be able to respond quicker. So the level of service we have now must be improved. I think we are on the right track to do so. Maybe some of you know, Italgas has a huge real estate, has many real estate assets. Which is very important to follow the development of our operations. We wanted to reorganize, redesign our operations in order to leverage on our real estate assets. The Rome headquarters were sold to ENI, but this is not the only initiative we have launched lately. Finally, as far as our activities are concerned, we are changing our car vehicles completely. So we will change everything between late 2018 and 2019. We will use natural gas for our vehicles, and we have seen also that it is economically very convenient. We work in major urban centers, and so through this new fleet we will reduce our impact on the environment. These vehicles are being sold, they do exist, and they have zero subtle substances emission. Unfortunately, the feeding infrastructure are not so widespread, so we decided to have small columns in our sites so that all our vehicles can have the natural gas required to function. And then sustainability. 2018 has been a very important year for us. We have the chairman of the committee, Sustainability Committee, here with us. They did a wonderful work. They prepared the first sustainability plan. They selected a number of interventions for 2018 and also the following years. We have been included in the FTSE4Good indexes, and it is quite an important result considering that we have been listed for only 1 year now. We have ambitious goals, as I mentioned earlier. The restructuring of our real estate assets. We want to be lead at gold level. And investments on our car fleet is also a major initiative. If you read the sustainability plan through the non-financial statement, you will see all the initiatives and the interventions that we have done so far and we will do going forward. 2017 was very important for Italgas because we celebrated our 180th anniversary. During the last shareholders meeting, we talked about it extensively. I'm almost finished, and I want to share with you the results that your company reached in 2017. I do not want to go too much into details as far as the figures are concerned. If you take a look at the colors in the slide, you see what we have attained. A double-digit growth in margins, This is quite a unique result in Italgas history. We also wanted to reduce costs significantly by 15% as compared to 2016. We wanted to do it within 2018, but we managed to reach this result an year in advance. This is why the Italgas share has been highly appreciated by the market. Another key element that I wanted to highlight is the investment level. We exceeded 500 million, but growth as compared to 2016 was very significant. And in spite of the level of investment in our acquisitions, EBITDA grew by only 100 million euros. In 2017, we spent 50 million for acquisitions, and this means that we managed to increase by 40% our investments, and we maintained our debt under control. You see from the chart the increase in revenues and the decline in operating costs. These figures supported the EBIT result. The EBIT is very important for us because it is one of the parameters used by rating agencies in terms of the invested capital value. We had higher depreciations because of the high number of meters as compared to 2016. Profits have also improved with the improvement of EBIT. You see also the debt restructuring. Even though our debt has remained at a significant level, 3.6 billion as compared to 2016, and the average debt was lower because in the first 10 months of 2016, when Italgas was in SNAM, we had a lower debt. But in spite of the increase in debt, we spent less because of the bond issuing, which contributed to the decline in the level of debt. And here, and I do not want to comment this chart in details, here see the performance of cash flow. 306 as compared to what we paid in dividends last year. So the company managed to increase investment, to pay significant dividend, to have acquisitions, and to maintain debt under control. This is one of the major results reached by Italgas in 2017. This is a detail illustrating the ratio between net investments and technical investments. I think that the future for our company will be very interesting. We have the possibility to invest consistently. We will work on costs to continue being leader in this field. We have plenty of opportunities in the market to grow. The board, chaired by Lorenzo Bignismaghi, in the approval of the financial statement, is going to propose a dividend payment of 0.208 for share. We wanted to increase dividend by 4% as compared to the dividend we paid last year. This dividend, if you approve this value, will be paid on May 23, 2018. Thank you for your attention.
Passerei la parola al Presidente del Collegio Sindaco.
To give the floor to the Chairman of the Board of Auditors. As Mr. Marchetti mentioned, our report is attached to the financial statement, and therefore I would like to share with you the conclusion. We have a positive judgment concerning the activities of surveillance we carried out, and we think that the financial statement submitted to the shareholders meeting should be approved, as well as the proposal to allocate 274 million of profits as reported in the financial statement for 2017. That is 168,300,000 euros for dividends, and the remaining amount of 5,152,000 euros. Dr. Grandi. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On March 23, 2018, we issued our report on the consolidated financial statement at December 31st, 2017. With the following judgment. We expressed our positive judgment. The financial statement provides a true illustration of the financial results of Italgas S.p.A. In line with the international financial reporting standards adopted by the European Union, and also the rules based on Article 9 of Law Decree 38. We have carried out the auditing activities to express our opinion on the financial statement report. And as far as the resolution proposal of the board are concerned, I invite Notario Marchetti to illustrate what you're going to do. You are kindly invited to approve the financial statement at December 31st, 2018 for a profit of 174,152,000 euros, and to approve the financial statements, and also to pay as dividend 168,300,884.42 euros, that is 0.208 euros per share, circulating when the coupon is being paid, and also to pay a dividend of 0.208 euro for share starting from May 23, 2018, with payment of the coupon on May 21st, 2018. So these are the first two items on the agenda. So we will analyze all the items of the ordinary shareholder meeting. Then we have the debate, and then the resolutions. I would like to move on item number 3 on the agenda concerning remuneration pursuant to Article 123 of Law Decree February 24, 1998. So the remuneration report has been approved by the board on March 12, 2018. It has been made available at our registered office and also on the market storage platform at the address I mentioned earlier, and published in the website of the company. I would also like to remind you that the report was distributed before the shareholders meeting. I would like to read the letter to the stakeholders written by the Remuneration and Appointment Committee with Dr. Cinzia Farisè, Dr. Dainelli and Federica Lolli. Many new things have been done, as you will see from the report, and I would like to summarize some of these new things. First of all, the governance of the remuneration process. Last October, the board decided to set up an appointment and remuneration committee by combining the two previous committees. Now we have one single committee with the tasks that were the two different committees were entrusted with earlier. So with the creation of one committee, we can better leverage on synergies concerning acquisition plans and other activities. Dr. Cinzia Farisè has been appointed chair of this new committee, together with Lolli and Benelli. The first goal set by this newly appointed committee is a new system of incentives, both long-term and medium-term incentives for strategic managers or strategic executives and managers. We have considered the favorable opinion expressed by the general meeting that was approved by over 90% of the votes. In terms of the new incentive plan, we have considered all the improvement suggestions put forward by the shareholders, the stakeholders, and the proxy advisors to be in line with the requirements of the markets and the Italgas remuneration policy. In this new incentive system, we have a 3-year plan, and during this 3-year plan we will pay the bonuses. We will have equity instruments in the remuneration policy. We will assess the performance, and these have been the main features of this remuneration policy, in addition to the previous features that were approved and highly considered by the stakeholders. All these new elements are included in the co-investment plan that illustrates the resolve of Italgas management to participate in the venture capital of Italgas. So, the remuneration report will be submitted to the shareholders. Through this report, we wanted to illustrate the commitment of Italgas to improve the remuneration system by aligning with the best practices on international level. I would like to thank you for your support. And so I invite you to express favorably on the remuneration report. Thank you. Do you have any question? Or do you want to wait till we open the debate?
So as the discussion will be postponed at the end of the ordinary part of the AGM, let's now deal with item number 4, which is the co-investment plan 2018-2020. The document concerning this plan that was drafted according to the law has been filed and is available to you. So I would now like read the resolution. So again, to approve according to Article 114 bis of TUF, the co-investment plan 2018-2020 in the terms and conditions described in the document attached to the board report, and then to give the board of directors and to the CEO any powers and which are necessary in order to implement the aforementioned co-investment plan, also through delegates, and to provide the necessary rights to the CEO to approve the regulations and to identify the beneficiaries and to inform the market. Finally, the last point on the agenda of the ordinary AGM is the appointment of a director. During 2017, on the 20th of July 2017, an independent director, Barbara Borra, resigned due to other professional assignments. During the board meeting of the 27th of July 2017, the board of directors co-opted, upon proposal of the nomination committee, a lawyer Federica Lolli as a new non-executive and independent director. The board of directors checked the fulfillment of the requisites and requirements provided for by law and the requirements of independence. The Board of Statutory Auditors also confirmed that the criteria and procedure to check the independence requirement had been properly adopted. So the co-option of the director, which has the necessary requirements in terms of honorability, professionalism and independence, has allowed to guarantee the continuity of that body. And so the appointed director will be in the board until the next AGM, which is the 31st of December 2017. So the Board of Directors, upon proposal of the Nomination and Communication Committee, and having expressed their favourable opinion during the board meeting of the 7th of March 2018, is now proposing to the AGM the confirmation of the independent director, Federica Lolli, and confirming that she will be in office until the expiration of this board, that is, until the AGM, which will be convened in 2019 for the approval of the financial statements as of the 31st of December 2018. So the resolution is to appoint as a member of the board lawyer Federica Lolli, and to define the expiration of the newly appointed director together with the other board members at the end of the AGM proceedings that will approve the financial statements as of the 31st of December 2018. So we have now described and discussed the 5 items on the agenda of the ordinary AGM. So let me now open the discussion on the 5 points of the agenda. As pointed out by the Notary Public, you are kindly asked to stick to the 5 minutes allotted to you for your contributions. I have 5 requests: Germana Luisi, Marco Carlissi, Catherine Bove, Davide Reale and Marco Bava. So let's start with Germana Luisi. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Can I come to the podium? Yes, please. And I think that microphone works also much better than this one. Good morning. My name is Germana Luisi. I'm a shareholder First of all, I would like to thank our CEO for the, I would say, very exhaustive and precise presentation. I had a longer list of questions, actually, but Paolo Gallo has already answered many of them, so thank you for that. But I would like to focus on the economic and financial results achieved by Italgas in 2017. These results are undoubtedly outstanding, with a double-digit growth, as Mr. Gallo said, for all the margins, investments, over 500 million euros, the number of acquisitions performed. These results show the effectiveness and the value of the business plan that was approved last May. But I also would like to point out that these results have been achieved in a framework, in a context whereby the situation, the current business situation, has not yet overcome the crisis. So considering all that, I must say that our company has been managed properly, and I'd like to congratulate with the management and with the whole staff. Let me now come to some questions. Italgas acquired Medea, Seaside, Equinus, and so on and so forth, within the framework of a very significant expansion plan for our domestic market. So new concessions are now 50, and these are the concessions that have been acquired by the company in order to grow, as pointed out in the strategic plan 2017-2020. As for the current year, 2018, we are still halfway, as Mr. Gallo pointed out, so many things are still in the pipeline. But with reference to the near future, how many acquisitions are you planning for 2018? Italgas is carrying out an important transformation in terms of assets and processes by focusing on digitalization, and it started an interesting partnership with Microsoft. The installation plan of smart meters is the first element within the plan of digitalization of networks that was started in 2017, and which puts Italgas at the cutting edge of the European gas distribution market. At the same time, Italgas has initiated a significant plan to review internal processes. With the cloud, as the CEO pointed out, we will have one first enabling factor to achieve our targets in this respect. So the completion is September 2018. So these decisions that put the company at the cutting edge of domestic and international competition. So what do you envisage in terms of expansion beyond the borders? And do you think that technological development or expansion can be an important distinguishing mark in the distribution market in Italy and abroad? And what are the possible innovative scenarios in this sector, innovation scenarios in this respect? Talking about sustainability, what are the main items of this model? Do they still apply considering the situation in 2018 and the projections for the future? As for the strategic plan 2017-2023, which is based on 5 main pillars, such as organic growth, operational efficiency, improvement of the portfolio with a steady focus on the market, and dividends paid out to the shareholders. Well, among these 5 pillars, what are, in your opinion, the main keys that will enable you to achieve these very ambitious targets? Total revenues 2017 are 1.1 billion euros, so a significant improvement versus 2016. And these are regulated revenues for the distribution of gas and sundry proceeds. The increase of regulated revenues is 45.4 million euros. What are the main sectors that drove this increase in revenues, and what are going to be the sectors that will be strategically important in the future? 2017 has been a very important year for investments. Technical investments have been performed for over 500 million euros. An increase by over 140 million euros, so plus 38% versus 2016. In which sectors in particular, and which are going to be the main investment assets in 2018? Finally, can you give us an overview of the management for 2018? What are the key elements of the management policy for 2018? Thank you. Hello, good morning. So, good morning. I'm here on behalf of Etica SGR, part of the Banca Etica Group. We've been participating in the AGM of this company for the first time. As shareholders that focus on financial and social and environmental performance, we decided to participate in this AGM. And in this respect, we would like to point out some sustainability elements. And by the way, we sent these questions beforehand in order to simplify this conversation. So sustainability first, and we would like to congratulate with the management for the results achieved. And we would like in particular to thank the investor relations and the corporate social responsibility departments for the meetings we had last year. So with reference to the Sustainable Development Goals, we would like to ask you some questions in this respect, and we would like to ask the company to arrange a proper meeting with the relevant departments. And three topics are important: management of emissions, sustainable cities, and human rights within the framework of supply chains. As for climate change, we like the disclosure level of the company in terms of climate change, and also the participation in the climate change questionnaire, and the target to reduce absolute and relative emissions. But we would like you to adopt science-based objective for the emission reduction as put forward during the Paris Convention. In terms of sustainable cities and infrastructures, well, clearly the Internet of Things is one of the drivers for the digitalization of Italy, and that market has achieved 2.8 billion euros in terms of value in 2016. However, the implementation of smart cities is still limited on the market at 230 million euros, that is 8% of the total. So we would like to ask the company up to which extent the topic of smart cities is strategic for the business model, and what actions have been put in place or will be put in place in this regard, and in general concerning the Internet of Things. As for human rights, we very much appreciated the transparency and the level of detail with which the company communicated the number of audits performed with the supplier in the non-financial consolidated report. Our question is to publish in the next edition of the non-financial report a concrete example of non-conformity identified, and how and what measures were taken. So we would like to ask for a meeting on this topic to go into the details of it. As for the second point of the agenda, so Etica sees that there is a payout which is over 70%, but the dynamic of the debt seems to be under control, also considering that the company operates in a regulated sector. So Etica will vote in favor of the items. However, we are asking to fix a dividend that considers a level of payout in favor of the parent company, which is lower than the 70% as of today. And this element, which is an element of the engagement policy of Etica, will be analyzed by Etica. As for the third item on the agenda, Etica appreciates the transparency and the completeness of the report on the appointment and remuneration. So we'd like to thank the committee. But let us point out some potentials for improvement, two in particular. As far as the long-term incentive is concerned, we'd like to ask the company to introduce a sustainability parameter among the indicators which are considered for the acknowledgement of the incentive. And then, if you can disclose the indicator on the GRI indicator, considering the salary to all staff members, and we would like this figure to be published in the next sustainability report. We hope these inputs are interpreted as a stimulus and as a positive contribution that will further foster our relationship. Thank you very much, and good luck for your proceedings. Thank you also for sticking to the 5 minutes allotted to you, Catherine Ball. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Catherine Bore. So the financial statements we are asked to approve today speak for themselves. All indicators are increasing and debt has remained flat. Significant is also the increase in investments, as already described extensively by our CEO. Well, in this respect, as a small shareholder, I'd like to point out the payment of the dividend to the shareholder that contributes to retain our shareholders to the company. But I also would like to point out the activism that our company is showing within the framework of the so-called war of gas. And this activism, in view of the full liberalization of the gas and power sector, will certainly be a positive thing. And the spin-off of our company has been extremely successful thanks to that. So this being said, let me ask you some questions. As for dividends, as far as I remember, prior to the listing of our company, Mr. Gallo said we should have waited until 2018 to better remunerate shareholders. The year is not over yet, but do you think that this roadmap can be fulfilled? So this network is still in the beginning, so the acquisition of new market share, is it linked only to acquisitions? And then as for the plan to replace the old meters, what will be the impact on customers and most of all on companies once the project is over? Thank you. Davide Reale.
Un cordiale buongiorno.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm not going to repeat my name. Well, as a matter of fact, the financial statements are very good. These are the first financial statements after the listing on the stock exchange. And so the two main points for a non-relevant shareholder are as follows. The share price, and as the CEO pointed out, is a positive development, and the distribution of dividends as expected. You also developed an appropriate business plan, so 6 years are good in order to highlight the expectations of the company in the short to medium term. I'm not going to dwell into the details of what was described by the CEO. However, I also would like to highlight the service to the customer, which is very important and which is very well cared for by our company, also considering the efficiency and expansion of our network. Well, clearly enough, when things go well, you're not willing to go into the details of the financial statements, and so let me just ask you some questions about further opportunities for investments. The consolidated financial statements were drafted for subsidiaries by using the consolidation, the integral method. As for the others, the net equity method was used. So my question is, why did you apply this method, considering that there are many other methods? The consolidated financial statements consider depreciations and amortizations for 10%, that account for 10%. And as you explain, this is due to the replacement of old meters. So I guess, well, this item will be present in future financial statements as well. Is it going to be similar in the future as well? Well, you also considered modernization, digitalization as far as smart meters and sensors are concerned. But the material substitution of the network, can we know something more about the state of the art and any problems we may expect in the future? And finally, two last questions to stick to the 5 minutes. I have a personal question first. What is the rationale and why are there factoring agreements on credits, especially on purely commercial credits? I'm not going to mention the amount, as you know it very well. And then, well, in a certain sense, we have a very nice long-term line of credit above 1 billion euros. So my personal question is, what banks are financing this line of credit? And very last question. So we also set up Italgas Acqua that stemmed from Italgas Napoletana. So can you remind me of what is inside this company? So equity or future challenges for the development or the maintenance of this company? And in conclusion, I'd like to thank you, to wish you a profitable work and a confirmation.
Now we have Marco Rava.
Allora.
I'm Mr. Marco Baba. I have two websites, www.marcobaba.it, www.nuovomodellodisviluppo.it, and then www.omicidiodanielli.it. For those who do not know, he is Mr. Edoardo Agnelli's cousin, and his name is Lupo Rattazzi. So please, can you stick to the items on the agenda? Mr. Chairman, I would like to start from the agenda. And the idea to discuss 5 items in 5 minutes is, well, quite limited. I understand that this is the Marchetti method. But I already informed Consob about this method for telecom, and I will do the same for Italgas. One of the items on the agenda is the remuneration of the chairman, 238,000 euros. That is 500 million lira. And personally, I think that for a non-executive chairman, I think that this is a much higher remuneration than the president of the Republic. I understand that you're one of the most important experts in economics in the country, but probably your experience in the field in a company like Italgas is wasted, so to speak. So I do not agree on the remuneration, and the same applies to the remuneration of Dr. Gallo, approximately 1 million euro. I understand that you're working very well, but I haven't seen, even though I took a look at your slides, at the report, positive results, but in a field that is quite consolidated. Those who are connected to the grid consume energy. So this is a sort of monopoly. It's not like Autostrada, for instance. I'm here to learn new things, and I'm more than willing to learn. So, personally, I would like to see a development in terms of multi-utility. Gas is used less and less, especially in big cities. Teleheating is more environmentally friendly. We know the impact of gas on the environment. The efficiency of the network implies complex costs. And undoubtedly, this service is not the best possible. I had to close a meter. People came. They said they came. They didn't leave anything. I had to call back. So it is quite a hard job to have to do with the service personnel. And if I remember it correctly, last time during the last general meeting, I couldn't get your interest, and I didn't get any perspective of the future development of the company. But what I want to understand now is how you intend to move. Undoubtedly, Italgas is leader in the market, but the development of gas, I think, won't be so great as compared to other energy sources. And in more specifically, my first question, and I thank you first of all because I could reach this venue easier as compared to last time. You made investment in the green economy. What I want to know is the following. What do you plan to do after? Do you want to make additional strategic investment? Also because in the... I think that wind energy and solar energy are the sources of the future. There is plenty of things to do as far as solar energy is concerned. Since we are working with buildings and we put our meters in buildings, probably it would be advisable to access the energy market through the installation of photovoltaic cells, of solar panels. And then we also have a grid reaching isolated small cities and villages. Maybe we can switch to solar energy with ad hoc customized plans. We have the windmills in Switzerland. They are connected to the individual buildings, and we can also follow suit. Could you please ask your questions, because you don't have that much time available. Mr. Chairman, maybe your staff has not informed you that there is no article of the Civil Code whereby I have to confine my intervention into a given number of minutes. But there is no binding limit. But please, I would like to invite you to respect also the other shareholders. You do not respect shareholders because they have 1 minute available to debate each item on the agenda. I think that there are many people who share my thought, and I'm trying you to make questions. So as far as the future of the company is concerned, I'm also considering the international vision a president should have. I do not see an analysis of the market providing a number of objective parameters. What you are saying is to limit the number of environmentally unfriendly plants in the city to avoid environment. But they are so effective now that their impact on the environment can be reduced. I understand that you are more focused on macroeconomic parameters, but since you are the chairman of a company, I cannot talk about the development of the situation in the United States or the policies of Trump or of Putin. Maybe you are more interested in those two aspects than in other items. Yes, please, 9 minutes if you can conclude. I can talk also without microphone. You have two options. Either you can invite diggers to remove me from the meeting or have me beaten up. Well, we set the rules, and the rules must be applied by all shareholders. But there is freedom. But please, I ask you to respect the others. You have used twice as much time as available. You did not say anything when the Notary Republic announced that you only had 5 minutes available. We are a democratic general meeting. And if you want, we can vote for the 5-minute slot available to shareholders. So the vote is not binding. You are kindly invited to conclude, please. Please. I'm kindly inviting you to conclude. Well, I think you're not so broad-minded as you think you are. this is your attitude. I would like to highlight that as far as the answers to the questions that were raised is concerned, I'm quite disappointed. Some congratulated with you for the social report, but the attention to shareholders is very limited, I think. You give just a limited period of time, and Banca d'Alba, for instance, provides free services, some free services to its shareholders. I asked the general meeting, my question number 4, through the web. You say that it is not possible, but I think that a company named Generali has an internet connection you can access by computer. So I think that the results are good in terms of consolidation, but the future prospects are not so rosy, so favorable as you illustrated. So you do an ordinary management. The strategy, I think, is not there.
Tacca.
Buongiorno.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Even though Mr. Bava did not agree, I agree 100% with the financial statement 2017. It is a good financial statement. I remember a report and the excellent financial statement of 2016 illustrated by Mr. Gallo. But the financial statement this year is even better, and the debt is under control. But I would like to dwell on one point, that is supply. The TAP is under construction, but there are a number of disputes for some tenth of kilometers, but supply arrives in Italy. This would maybe imply, in terms of gas supply, additional costs to the system, and these costs will be distributed as a burden. And indirectly, they will have a negative impact on the company's costs. And this will also have a negative impact on the financial statement going forward. I will try to be as short as possible. You have 5 minutes. The bond debt of Italgas is 2.6 billion approximately. Why don't you allow retail to do something to participate in issuing bonds? Because we have no possibility so far as retails, as small investors. This is basically what I wanted to say. Okay, so no additional questions? Could you please come to... No, no microphone, no translation. We are sorry.
No, voglio
Yes, I just want... Armentano. I'm an individual shareholder. What I want to highlight is the following. Of course, I want to compliment with the results, but there is something I want to highlight. How do you see the market? because Azionista Baba and others mentioned the expansion of gas market. We are in the Eni and Snam family. What are we doing in Italy as far as gas consumption is concerned, as far as oil consumption is concerned? Is there a future market or not? Will we face a crisis for oil and natural gas? Do we have to further develop wind energy and solar energy? So I would like to have some feedback from you, because the acquisition you are making is by Italgas or by those who sell companies. Thank you.
Passerei la parola all'amministratore delegato che può rispondere a tutte le
So let me now hand over to the CEO, who will answer all the questions asked.
Cerco di andare in ordine conto di rispondere a tutti, quindi poi magari qualche domanda la riunisco.
So let me try and answer all the questions. I may merge some questions together. So acquisitions 2018. We have undertaken with the market to acquire between 2017 and 2018 about 200,000 meters through the acquisition of small operators. So there will be acquisitions in 2018. We are negotiating with some companies. Of course, we cannot disclose the names of these operators so far, but we can confirm that the target of 200,000 meters, a similar number, will be achieved by the end of 2018, and we foresee that we're going to spend slightly more than 200 million euros. Well, it will be almost 250 million euros, because we are going to acquire networks that do not have urban density. And in this respect, let me move forward to a question related to gas tenders, because well, acquisitions are the other side of the coin. So gas tenders are not being organized so far. There was one in Milan, and there will be another one in Turin 2, and there are others, but we're just talking about a couple of them. The M&A activities have been initiated by us in order to fill in that gap, that time gap between the organization of a tender and our ability to increase in terms of market share. So we will never be able to increase our market share to 40% only through acquisitions. Tenders are fundamental. And during this transition period, till the increase in the number of tenders, we cannot but resort to acquisitions. Well, let's say there is availability on the market to sell as long as tenders are put off or postponed. As soon as tenders are organized, the operators themselves will not be interested any longer in selling their assets, but they would rather wait till the end of the tenders. Well, let's move forward. The next question was about digitalization. Well, for sure, having a digitalized network and having digitalized processes is a competitive edge for future tenders. As I explained earlier, well, if I am able to integrate new concessions soon and quickly, I'm able to increase effectiveness, efficiency, and economies of scale. So I must be able to integrate acquisitions as quickly as possible, and digitalization and cloud are enabling factors in this respect. I must say that the gas sector is suffering from a technological gap versus the electricity sector. And this is due to physical reasons. Nowadays, technological innovations allow us to fill in that gap and to catch up. We're doing so, but not all the companies are doing that. Just a second. Well, as for the plan, let me answer all the questions asked on the plan in general. We submitted the plan last year from 2017 to 2023, and I think it was rather well detailed in terms of growth objectives, market shares, investments, and return for the investors, for the shareholders, I'm sorry. The next plan will be presented in June. So 1 year after the presentation of the previous one, it will be an update that will include the changes on the market. I'm not going to disclose anything. It is now being reviewed and will be presented in June. Why is there such a significant increase in regulated revenues? Well, that was the question. Regulated revenues have increased significantly versus 2016 for two reasons. First, our life. So if I make investments, investments are the regulated or are included in the regulated asset base. This increases the value of our asset, and as we are paid and remunerated based on the quantity of our investments, if I have an increase in the invested capital, my revenues increase. And the second reason, and this also goes back to the question about the installation of smart meters. Well, the second reason, as we speeded up the substitution plan, we have a partial reimbursement from the authority, because the authority set some goals percentage-wise for the installation of smart meters, and so we get some refund for those meters that we replace, although they haven't been completely amortized yet, and this leads to an increase in revenues. And this also partly explains the increase in amortizations and depreciations, because we considered a total number of meters, 6.5 million, and we acted as if they were one single asset with a certain residual life, and that will be replaced by 2020. So this leads to an increase in revenues, which is recognized by the authority. And on the other hand, we also have anticipated amortizations, and thanks to that, once all the meters have replaced, we will no longer have residual values for the meters. And then another question, so how long will this go on, move forward? Well, this project will move forward until 2020, when all the meters are replaced, and the volume of amortizations and depreciations will, of course, decrease through time. Investments in 2018. Well, according to our guidelines, we are going to invest, and we will continue to invest the same amount. This applies both to 2018 and 2019. Well, for sure, in 2018, thanks to new acquisitions, especially on Sardinia, there will be a further increase in investments. So you have to expect more than 520 million euros in terms of investment. So it's a slightly increase. It's a slight increase versus the total amount of investments in 2017. Then, as far as climate change is concerned, we have taken this aspect seriously into account. As you could see in our presentation, we have initiated a range of initiatives, for example, from gasoline or diesel cars to methane cars. Well, this means reducing pollution in our cities and reducing fine dusts and toxic substances. We are also refurbishing the building where Italgas Reti is based in Reggio Parco, and the plan was made so as to receive the Gold LEED certificate. And this means energy efficiency, but also use and future reuse of the materials being used for the refurbishment. For sure, they are Class A buildings, otherwise we would never receive the gold certificate. Well, these are just some of the initiatives. You can find many others in the sustainability plan, because the sustainability plan fulfills, among others, also this need. I don't think, well, let me go back to this point later on. I don't think there will be a winner. Well, I think methane-powered cars are available today. Well, costs are similar to those of a conventional car. Electric cars will be for the future. Methane, natural gas-powered cars have no issues concerning recharging of batteries. So methane gas is for sure the transition fuel. And this transition period will not be, as many think, short. It will be very long. If you just read the national strategy, well, you can see that there are two main pillars: electrification and the increase in electrification on the one hand, and on the other, the increase in the use of natural gas as a clean fuel. And this allows us to hope for future success. So we think we will have many years ahead to further develop our company. So when we have to develop a different strategy, well, this will be much ahead in the future. As far as infrastructures are concerned, well, I actually covered this point, maybe not so much into detail. Well, IoT, the Internet of Things, is also one element of our strategy. It's not the only one, because with the Internet of Things, you can collect plenty of data, but if you don't use this data, if you do not exploit this data from an operational perspective, well, it is useless. Of course, we have to collect many such data if we want to change the way our network is managed. And the installation of smart meters and sensors across the network will allow us to monitor in real time our network, and at the same time to collect a lot of information that we do not have for the time being, and that will increase the efficiency of our network. As for human rights, suppliers management, etc., we ask our suppliers to sign our ethical code. So you may ask our suppliers, well, to get the qualification from us is actually complicated, and this qualification is retained across many years, so we can guarantee that they stick to the ethical code of Italgas. As for the dividends, well, it is not relevant to consider the payout for the parent company, because the parent company has no operations. The results of the parent company depend on the dividends that Italgas Reti mainly and also other subsidiaries distribute. The level of distribution of dividends of Italgas Reti is defined by the parent company. Much more relevant is the payout on the consolidated results. So we are at a high level of sustainability as far as the dividend is concerned. Then as for the incentive plan, we will certainly take that suggestion into consideration, that is the idea of including a sustainability parameter. So when we define the next incentive plan, we will certainly consider that item. Then as far as the question on myself is concerned, well, if we compare my fixed remuneration, and that's the only significant comparison, so if we compare my fixed remuneration and the median remuneration, that is the mean person, well, that ratio is equal to about 19. Then, moving forward. Well, in 2018, or for 2018, well, let me rephrase. In 2017, we undertook a commitment on dividends for 2018 that we fulfilled. We said dividends would increase by 4%. And in drafting the plan and in the presentation of the plan that will occur in June, we will possibly consider an improvement of the dividends, but we can do so only upon presenting the new plan. What are the benefits of the smart meters? There are plenty of benefits, especially for the end customer. Just think about that. A customer receives a bill. We do not issue any bill. We just distribute gas and on behalf and in the name of sales companies. So end customers will no longer receive bills with an estimated consumption, but with a real consumption. So we just send figures to the sales companies, and sales companies will then use these figures to issue their bills. So this is a huge benefit. And as for the systems and the operators, the installation of smart meters is the first enabling factor for the digitalization of the network. Without them, the network cannot be digitalized. So benefits are multiple, both for the end customers and for the system. The end customer is able to monitor in real time his or her consumption, so they may assess whether or not they are consuming too much gas and take the necessary measures. And it's actually like the electricity power meter, smart meter. Well, we are going to have gas smart meters as well. Well, as for the affiliated companies, that is those companies for which we have less than 50% stake, we calculate them based on the net equity method, because this is what is provided for by international standards. So how is our network doing? Well, our network is doing very well. We are certainly the operator that is investing the most on the network. Just let me mention an example. You may be aware of that. We have started a survey activity that will cover about 2% of our network, so 65,000 kilometers by 2%. Well, this is a relevant number. And this will allow us to capture the state-of-the-art of our network. Well, it's a sample activity, but so far results are extremely reassuring. For sure, there are non-conformities, but they are mild non-conformities that we can fix, and so that we can fulfill our internal and national standards. Why factoring agreements? We did so because regulations are strange, let's say. Well, first of all, we receive payments from the sales companies 30 days after the end of the month when we issue our invoice. So, well, the 30th day, as it is the case, for example, of February. Well, the 30th day has to be a working day, otherwise you move to the following month. So in order to avoid any distortion in providing a picture of our debt, especially in the 3-month report, we do so that we can have cash-ins when they are expected to be. And then as for the energy efficiency, well, regulations state that we have to take on the charges from in a certain period, so from the 1st of June to the 31st of March, and we are reimbursed later on. Well, as for this year, a partial reimbursement is foreseen by November, but considering the outlay, the significant outlay that we have to pay for buying the energy efficiency shares, we did so in order to not to damage our financial balance. And, well, these have been short-term, and their cost has been almost equal to zero.
Financial institutions providing us 1.1 billion livre to guarantee our rating, and so they are committed. Crédit Agricole, JP Morgan, BB Paribas, ING, Barclays, Citi, Société Générale, Cari Parma, Unicredit, Intesa, Mediobanca, Cassa Depositi e Prestiti, and BNL. Italgas Acqua. Italgas Acqua, as our shareholder highlighted, was part of Napoletana Gas. The idea why we split it off after the merging of Napoletana Gas in Italgas Reti, it is because the philosophy behind water the regulation behind water distribution is quite different, and these small concessions we have generating revenues between 8 to 10 million per year, so quite a difference as compared to our turnover. And it is undoubtedly a residual activity, but we wanted to strengthen this specific activity on water. We want to digitalize the water network. This digitalization is easier as for gas, because water cannot be compressed, and therefore algorithms can be applied easier. So we wanted to create this split-off to provide the right focus on a residual activity, but an activity that generates a few million margins for the company. And we wanted to make this activity one of our best ones. As far as our future is concerned, I invite all shareholders to participate in the presentation of the plan that will be held in June. I would like to invite Mr. Bava to read the National Energy Strategy, and in this strategy there are many of the answers concerning his questions on the future of gas. This national energy strategy received the approval of many stakeholders. It is based on two pillars: electrification and the use of natural gas, and also the use of natural gas in Sardinia. Based on the rules and regulations we cannot use our knowledge and our skills of 6 million meters to carry out other activities, as Mr. Bava mentioned, because we are not allowed to. We will have one single position. We have 6.5 million customers and meters, and for this specific position we cannot use this vehicle to perform other activities. We are not a monopoly. The concessions we have had have been granted to us in the past. We have acquired them, we have won them. The new concessions will be given based on a bid. After we win the bid for 12 years, we have a natural monopoly on that specific activity. Investment on TAP by SNAM, it won't have an impact on the Italgas figures, but it will be accounted for based on the value of the national network, so it won't have any impact on Italgas. Bond retail. We didn't issue any bond retail because at the moment we had an urgency to refinance, as we did successfully, 2.3 billion of the bridge financing granted by the banks. But for the future, maybe we will issue some bonds for the retail market with different features. But maybe we will do it in the future as well. Gas consumption. In 2017, the total gas consumption was 74, if I remember it correctly, billion of cubic meters. I would like to remind you that before the crisis of 2008, we were slightly above 80 billion. So there is an important signal. So you have to look at the charts. First of all, the natural gas consumption declined to 62%, but it is improving significantly on two segments that have nothing to do with our company. The two segments are industrial consumption, and this is a good signal because it proves that Italian industries are growing, and electrical energy consumption. Residential consumption is rather flat and has been quite stable over the last few years. So we mentioned solar energy and wind energy, and we contributed significantly to the development of these two alternative sources, and we pay it in our energy bill. Thank you. Thank you. I think that we have provided a broad overview of the situation. We have answered the different questions. I would like to know whether shareholders want to make voting statements concerning the items on the agenda, the ordinary part. So, yes, I would like to remind you that you can only make statements, and you have 2 minutes available altogether. Mr. Chairman, I'm quite confused. You have to make a voting statement, so I will make a request for a class action vis-à-vis the chairman. The chairman only, because you are arrogant vis-à-vis Mr. Bava. I think I wanted to answer to the remarks of the CEO. I'm not allowed to. No, you are not allowed to. You only have to make a voting statement. You have 2 minutes. So, but to make a voting statement, I have to provide the reasons. Probably you have powers that you are not entitled to. Please, you only have 2 minutes, but I have to explain why I'm voting against. I do appreciate the will, the resolve of the CEO, even though I think that we do not have that good relationship. What is lacking is what I mentioned earlier, that is a future perspective for the company. Gas has increased in a time when, from an energy viewpoint, we were faced with a number of cost decreases because of renewable energies. The fact that you are not correctly informed about renewable energies, Mr. CEO, well, you have forgotten PET, and the impact of their activities on the environment. So I think I don't understand why you haven't provided answers to this question in particular. As diesel and the Dieselgate, 1 nanosecond after it was announced that Dieselgate killed diesel, now we are making acquisitions for the gas network in a business sector that will hardly grow in the future. So the basic component that is combustible energy is not managed by ourselves, but it is a source of cost increase. And therefore, I think that people will decide to get rid of gas. There are alternative systems and plans. It is not only a question of costs. As I said, it is not only a question of costs, but also a question of pollution and of the maintenance of our business in gas. Is it does it have any meaning to continue buying meters? I understand that in Italy everything is possible, and except for you, people are trying to see what happens in the other parts of the world. But if we continue like that, we won't move forward. So you said that you are voting against. Thank you. So the considerations by the CEO were correct when he said that the consumption has increased. And I'm worried because companies consume because they have contributions. They consume a lot of energy, but we as taxpayers pay. Okay, you can write my remark in the minutes, please. So, use gas to produce electricity when we have renewable energies is a mistake, I think. Thank you, Mr. Bava, for your voting statement. And you are still a shareholder of the company. And I'm glad of that. Sorry, no mic and no translation. Mr. Marchetti. Yes, now we move on with the voting. The first item on the agenda is the approval of financial statements. You're kindly requested to remain in this room during voting and to communicate, based on the rules in force, the existence of some ineligibility to vote. So we have at the moment 104,573,638. That is a 74.71% of shareholders. So you're kindly requested to vote about to vote on the financial statement.
Hanno votato a favore.
So in favor, all the attending shareholders. No. No. I read what I see here. I read what I have here. Oh, sorry. There are. Yeah, there was a 0.000000%, so there weren't enough zero for the percentage. 604,563.35 are in favor, and three are against. And I do apologize. There are 3 shares against. So this is the first item on the agenda. We can move on to the second item. Same number of shares. It is the allocation of profits for the year and distribution of dividends. So point number 2, allocation of profits and payment of dividends. So you can vote.
Favorevoli 604.
In favor 604, 573,635. Against 3 shares. So item number 2 has been approved by majority vote. Item number 3, policy on compensation. So now I open the voting.
Favorevoli.
In favor 594,748,416. That is 98.37%. Against 9,219,313 shares. 1.52%. Non-voting 463,572. Not 0.07. And non-voting 142,350. Not 0.02%. So also item number 3 has been approved. Point number 4, co-investment plan 2018-2020. You are kindly requested again to say if you are not entitled to vote. Now you can start voting.
Favorevoli.
In favor 595,745,935 shares, 98.53%. Against 8,794,203, 1.45%. Non-voting 33,000 shares. Not 5%. Also, this item has been approved. So, the last item on the agenda, appointment of a director. So, same number of shareholders, voting is open.
Favorevoli.
In favor, 604,495,000 shares, 99.98%. Against, 51,403 shares, 0.008. Non-voting, 32,500, 0.005%. And so the ordinary part of the general meeting is over. We move on to the extraordinary part. It is 12.28. So I would like to remind you that the documents have been made available on the website and at the entry of the meeting. And I would like to inform you that we have the same number of shareholders, 604,613,638. So 74.71%. And so the general meeting is duly convened, and we will examine the following agenda. Point number 1 is the proposal for free share capital increase to be reserved for employees of Italgas and companies of the group in the nominal amount of €4,960,000 through allocation pursuant to Article 2349 of the Italian Civil Code of the corresponding amount taken profits or retained profits with the issuance of no more than 4 million ordinary shares. Amendment to Article 5 of the company's bylaws. I would invite the Notary Public to approve the proposal for free share capital increase for a nominal amount of €4,960,000 through allocation pursuant to Article 2349 to be reserved to employees of Italgas and all companies in the group. And the deadline is June 30, 2023, with €1.24 for each share. Point number 2 is the amendment of Article 5 of the bylaws. Point number 3 is the power to be given to the board and to the CEO to implement the resolutions.
Straordinaria proposta di modifica dell'articolo.
Second item of the extraordinary AGM. So in this respect, so the resolution is included in the report, so to approve the change in Article 13 of the bylaws according to the formulation indicated in the board report on item number 2 of the extraordinary AGM, and to entrust severally the President and the CEO with the powers to implement the changes, the aforementioned changes. Is anyone willing to take the floor? We haven't received any indication in this respect, so let's now move to voting. So I will say something on both items of the agenda. Well, I think I'm speaking Italian, but I have some doubts sometimes. Well, this is not a major change. Well, this is a fact. This redistribution to shareholders is a positive fact, but let me insist on a key issue. In my opinion, the company's strategy is actually a more financial rather than business strategy. Let me say so. Trying to make the market happy by saying, I give you the remuneration, I increase my capital, and I give you this and that. Well, this is certainly an important strategy. Well, I was saying, Mr. Notary Public, So to make the market happy. Well, but this is not for the shareholders, the Notary Public is saying. This is for the remuneration. Well, yes, but let's say this is a way to look at the market from a financial perspective. So I still insist on the fact that there is not a business strategy that goes beyond the current outlook. So my feeling is that there is a sort of invitation to the shareholders and an example from the directors to profit profit from the situation as long as it is good. So for the time being, the market is successful. There are not yet any stronger competitors as energy alternatives have not been defined yet. So we have a consolidated portfolio. We are acquiring meters, and strangely enough, there are operators willing to sell these meters to us. Well, if it is profitable, I'm wondering why they are selling them. And then the question of incentives, remunerations, etc. Well, this is all aiming at this target. Mr. Chairman, considering your international expertise and experience, I'd like to know a little bit more what is happening around the world. The issue of the stock options, the issue of incentive plans, which is actually the same thing, if I'm not wrong, Mr. Notary Public. Well, this thing is a bit criticized abroad, especially where these things were originally created. At the same time, however, the speech by the CEO was extremely concrete. Well, he said, well, a long time will pass until methane gas is replaced by other forms of energy. And so we can be... we are reassured. I don't know if you have a micro or macro experience at a worldwide level, but events are so quick and so unexpected. I just mentioned the Dieselgate as one example, but this is not the only fact. Let's think about Facebook, for example. In a matter of a few hours, the share price really decreased a lot. So I realize, Mr. Gallo, that the Fiat school you come from is a school which is a very practical one, a very pragmatic one. However, that school, as I was saying earlier, before you stopped me from speaking, well, just to make an example, when Marchionne joined Fiat, and I do regret that Lupo has left, well, Renault and Fiat, you can confirm this to me, Mr. Gallo, they were at the same level. Nowadays, Renault is one of the leading companies, and Fiat is still ranking 6th. I'm sorry, Mr. Baza, let's talk about gas. Well, I'm saying gas will be over soon. It is considered as a pollutant that... Yes, but can you please let the proceedings move forward? Well, I would miss the train. Yes, well, you missed the train, but nobody obliges you to stay to the end. Well, you come from Emilia-Romagna to teach us the democracy of the Communist Party. Please. Well, we do need that in this country. Well, by creating problems at a local level, without any protection of the environment with incinerators and polluting plants. So I'm insisting on that. The wealth of Italgas is a historic wealth, is a legacy. Unfortunately, you did not allow shareholders to celebrate with you, but we were not considered. We did not have the right to celebrate with you. But I just want to say history is a wealth, provided that you can interpret it in the right way, or it can be a burden. Because, you know, tomorrow we may have plenty of meters and nobody uses gas any longer. So what are we using meters for in the future if nobody uses gas? Are there any other remarks? No other remarks? So let's now vote. I'm sorry. Everything was put on records. Everything was put on records. I just want to reply to the international issue. Please, can you please listen to my reply? So as you mentioned, my international expertise, I think it's an international good practice to do this kind of transactions. It is using shares for the to promote and to give incentives to the staff. I think this is a good practice at an international level. And what you said about the gas market has already been replied by the CEO, and as far as I'm concerned, I can say that gas is considered as one of the cleanest sources of energy. However, in the national strategic energy strategy and in other energy strategies of other countries, gas, and this applies to us as well, will have an important development. But on a yearly basis, we will meet so that we will have the ability to check whether we are aligned with the market, and we will review these forecasts. Now let's come to the voting procedures for the resolutions of the extraordinary AGM. Well, we'll have two voting procedures. The first one is item 1 of the extraordinary session. So the free share capital increase to be reserved for employees within the deadline, within the terms that we mentioned before. The number of shareholders present has not changed. So in favor, 595,333,129 shares, against 8,885,509, abstentions 15,000. The proposed resolution is approved by majority. Now the second voting procedure, change of Article 13 of the bylaws. In this case, 2, the number of attendees has not changed. The voting is open. This is the result. In favor, 604 million. Against 17,503 shares, 15,000 abstained. The proposal is approved. Good. Thank you. As there are no other issues to be resolved, I hereby close today's AGM at 12:41 p.m. Thank you, and see you next year. For the shareholders who are ready to be loyal and remain loyal to the company and will retain their shares.